Oh, hi. So I didn't realise you were checking in this afternoon. Really good news. It's currently 20 to 5. At quarter to 5, here today on World Creativity Day, we've got an incredible exclusive. We have got Professor Bill Lucas, who's co-chair of the OECD PISA League Table on Creative Thinking and Creativity. Unbelievable. We're just getting our act together now. While we wait for him, I just want to roll a couple of videos, a couple of films. The one at the moment that we're pushing quite hard down here on our community lock-in, we've managed to blag a bit of space in this farmer's field. He's got a barn over there which he's not using at the moment, which we might try and use at some time, but not to worry. Live and direct, hashtag community lock-in, promoting art, creativity. I'll tell you all about it later on, but for now I just want to cut to this little film. We're looking for some very special people this Friday. Doing a hashtag Rocket Kids Club for all these kids to have a safe place to go and share and create with their creative carers. I'm going to share what Action Jackson hopefully would have done if he'd been on.
Everybody say dream big, dream big. Act now, act now. Never give up, never give up.
Let's just do some book stuff, shall we? This is the book that everybody really needs to be reading at the moment. Good Ideas, how to be your and your child's best teacher. What does collaboration mean to you?
For me, collaboration is everything. I believe that
art is
even
what we call it when what we do connects us. So your art could be painting, your art could be photography, your art could be dancing, the art of design, graphic design, DJing. I must admit, your art could be fashion. Your art, as many children are when I say this, could be football. The kids put their hand. Your art could be baking or cooking. The big bake-offs when the most connects. Your art could be coding, developing games. There are lots of jobs in the creative industries, and that's what this is all about. Your art could be rockets. You could say my art's rockets, paper rockets like this, because your art could be rockets like this, Stevenson's rocket. And that's a BBC microbit, a £12 computer. You can learn to code one of those without even having a microbit. And we're going to show you how to do that. And we're going to teach you how to code JD. I have got on the line an amazing man called David Gilday. Are you with us?
So there are kind of two stages to solving this.
Go for it. No epic fails here.
Indeed. So this one is very similar to the robot you've seen before, but because it can see it reflected back from the cube, it can detect that, pass the information to the software.
So Rowan is obsessed with anything to do with wires or motors or anything that he can. The other day he wanted to make a crane, so we made a crane out of bits of wood and rope and stuff that we found in the garden and in his dad's shed. Oops,
wow.
I can do it.
We are minutes away from a world exclusive here in the community lock-in with an amazing man, a very generous man, Professor Bill Lucas from the Centre for Real World Learning, based here in the UK in Winchester, but I don't think he's at his desk very often. I know that Professor Lucas travels around the world, around different countries all over the world advising, consulting. So we're incredibly delighted to have him here today. And you might ask, you might think that maybe it's actually an upside of the lock-in that we've got at the moment. Lock-in, not a lockdown, because nobody's ever going to lock us down. We're locked in, but we're making the most of it, connecting and seizing these opportunities to connect with amazing people like Bill. So we're 2 or 3 minutes away from that. So bear with us, we'll get our act together and we'll come back to you just as soon as we can.
It's about bringing creativity to some of the most deprived children in the country.
I think we'll go back to Marva Rollins just for 2 minutes while we get the final touches put to the presentations and all the bits and pieces here.
Creativity
so bear with us.
to some of the most deprived children in the country. And what we're asking for is the opportunity for a STEAM code day at our school.
Creativity is really what it is to be human, isn't it?
How we as the marketing industry, how we can tackle the really important subjects that matter to us as human beings as well as to marketeers.
If we're going to outpace the robots, then the sense of empathy and creativity and problem solving and all that stuff becomes more important. And on our watch, if we're not careful, the very things that you're saying you value and I value so much for my children are being squeezed out.
We're gonna work this out because this can't go on for anymore.
If we want to advocate for creativity in our places of learning and in our workplaces, we need to connect.
My God, that sounds like the complete setup, right?
We are leaving the industrial economy and entering the connection economy. You don't have to like it, but it's true. Art is what we call it when someone does something that might connect us to someone else.
I hope you really think about those STEAM skills.
So what we really need to do is get into primary schools, and get kids young to start teaching them not only about the options which might be available and open to them later on in their lives, but also preparing them for a world where 40% of current jobs are going to disappear. So what are the skills which are going to be most relevant to people going forward?
What we're doing is we're looking for companies to pay for what we call pop-up STEAMco kits, almost like a UN survival kit that gets helicoptered into Tottenham, or helicoptered into an estate in the middle of Cornwall, or gets helicoptered into Northumbria, so that the community can pick this kit up and go and inspire their children with creativity. We've got some guys here from your favourite store, a digital agency in Shoreditch, who are closing for the day, and they're going to go down to a school and they're going to inspire those kids with creativity, because not every school is as cosy as my school in Paddington. Not every school's got parents they can draw on.
This has been a most amazing day, absolutely amazing. Our Year 4 and Year 5 children are having an incredible time with a whole range of activities, coding, artwork, designing, a really amazing day.
I wish for you to stand up for what you care about.
I'm doing some spin painting. Centrifugal force does it.
What has carried me is creativity. Creativity is not the monopoly of artists. You can be a businessman and a poet, you can be a lawyer and a poet, you can be a doctor and a poet. It's true.
I'm absolutely pleased that your favourite story, the digital company, has provided a team of experts to support our children, and they have been amazing. They have allowed our children to have an opportunity that they wouldn't normally have, and now our children have real ideas about what is possible out there in that field.
When greatness walks into the room, greatness does not have to announce itself.
I've had a really fun day teaching children to microbit code. I didn't really sort of have many skills on that myself until today, but I've learned and so have the children. It's been great.
Bonkers or useful invention ideas. You might be wondering what I'm wearing on my head. Well, this is a reverse listening device that I made from tubes and kitchen funnels. Okay, I've shown you some of my invention ideas, but I want to challenge you to come up with your own.
Good morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Yeah, hi Dan and Louise, is it? Yeah, hi. Yeah, we're down here in Somerset. We're running a thing called a community lock-in, hashtag community lock-in. We've managed to blag a bit of space under a stage off a farmer, as you can see over there. He's not using it this summer by the sound. Today, really important day, day one of Co-Fight 19. This is a campaign for all sorts of people coming together to fight the fear of the virus. We've set up camp, or we're setting up camp in lots of different places all over the country with what we're calling a content creation, and we're going to be doing hashtag Art Connect, celebrating the power of art. We're going to be running co-conferences, really excited about that. We're also a thing called the Rocket Kids Club. We're launching that on Friday. We're going to be, and this is a community for kids and their creative carers. It might be parents. We're going to start off with the art of drawing, the art of Lego. We've got somebody coming in from Lego to do that. we're going to be doing an activity about robots. So this is JD, our robot. Give us a wave, JD. We're going to be plugging lots of books as well, not least our own book, this one with friend Frank up there in Liverpool. Fantastic. One book we're particularly keen to tell everybody about this period is this wonderful book by a wonderful man, Michael Rosen, Good Ideas, How to Be Your and Your Child's Best Teacher. And sadly, Michael's in hospital at the moment, so we wish him and his family the very best. And then in May, we're going to do a whole month of art takeovers, hashtag UK Art Takeover, festivals, parliament
You've
launches,
nearly persuaded me to give it a go.
Thank you very much for being with us on Breakfast this morning as well.
We now
So
need
there'll be
some
lots of people
sponsors
watching
to help us get more of our pop-up day drop trucks on the road, so as soon as the isolation lifts, we can take creativity out to school communities, families and all sorts of people all over the country over the next year, building up to 2022, which the government had earmarked as a national festival of creativity.
We're not allowed to advertise on this programme, but sort it out, will you? Just sort it out.
Right, so...
Yeah, sort it out, will you please, sort it out. So here we are in that field in Somerset. Over my shoulder here we've got an old barn of some sort, which I don't think is going to get used this summer, so we're going to be taking over that and the whole of the UK for the UK Art Takeover. It's one of the 4 things, as you just saw there, we're doing here in our community lock-in. Number 1, hashtag Rocket Kids Club. We've launched a club today. We're on the approach now to the launch on Friday, where we're going to be inspiring kids to make rockets, to do coding, to do art, to do design, to connect with their passion. We're doing co-conferences. LGFL, the London Grid for Learning, have sponsored us to build this studio to deliver a conference for them in May, and we're going to be delivering that, as well as a whole month of activities, the UK Art Takeover, a Parliament launch, a 2-week tour of Britain, and then a 3-week weekend festival, and the hashtag Art Connects. And that's what we're doing here today. That's what we're connecting with here today, because I'm absolutely delighted that we have got standing by somebody who I'm going to cut through in just a second, because today is World Creativity Day here in the UK, in Great Britain, in Europe, and all the way across the world is World Creativity Day. A United Nations, an OECD, a group effort to celebrate the power of art, creativity and innovation in our schools, in our work and in our lives. A fantastic day, and we have connected with all sorts of people today. We've done the Rocket Kids session, we connected with a mother in Cheshire, we've connected with people all over the world, and we are now hopefully just about to connect with an incredible man, a man who I've been lucky enough to meet once or twice. He's recorded podcasts for us. He's been very, very, very generous. He's a colleague of a man who spoke at our very, very first event 5 years ago, Professor Guy Claxton. And Bill and Guy published a book which has been very, very inspirational for us, a book called Educating Ruby. And I recommend this book to every parent, every teacher, every business person, every politician, because this is the book about how we need to be teaching our children and educating them and inspiring and connecting them for the future. A lot of people, I saw a fantastic blog yesterday by a man called Ian Gilbert, who runs an organisation called Independent Thinking, and he published an article, 20 points. If you were designing a school right now, what would it look like? What would it be like? Would it be a school? And that connected with some work by a chap called Graham Brown Martin, who spoke at the same event with Guy Claxton. I could go on for hours about this. I've got Bill Lucas, I can see him here ready. He's shuffling around in his executive suite. I don't know if he's in a Hilton hotel somewhere. I don't know where he is, but I'm going to press this button and I'm going to test and see if Bill Lucas can hear me. Bill, can you hear me?
Yep,
you can. Okay, so let me just press a few buttons down here then and see if we can get you on one of my little windows. And let me try that and let me press that. And yes, we've got Bill Lucas live. Hello, Bill.
Hi, great to be with you wherever you are on this mystery tour.
And pause for a breath now, let you do some talking if you don't mind. Bill, I can't thank you enough today. I mean, when did we plan this? Was it 15 minutes or an hour ago? I can't remember.
I think it's about 17 minutes ago, but I'm used to that with you, Nick. It's great to be chatting about this important subject.
I can't believe our luck, Bill. I really can't. I mean, I wouldn't have even dreamt of contacting you, to be honest. World Creativity Day, and I'll be honest, I only realised it was World Creativity Day about 3 days ago, because I actually sort of plan my day when I wake up in the morning. And to see it was World Creativity Day, we pushed some stuff out last night. We've connected with parents as part of our Rocket Kids Club. But to have you on here is fantastic. Can you just give a bit of context How long have you got now? Let me pace myself. How long have you got? Is it 15 minutes or can you go much longer? Because I could talk to you all day.
Yeah, 10, 15 minutes.
Let's go for that then.
It's about what we've got.
So give us a 60-second elevator pitch about you and your context, the real world learning, and then let's talk about the big stuff.
Okay, I'm Bill Lucas. I'm based at the University of Winchester in the south of England. I am privileged to lead a small group called the Centre for Real World Learning. We're passionate about all those things that you were talking about in your kind coverage of Educating Ruby. That's to say how to make or help young people to become more creative, more practical, more engaged, more curious, more inquisitive, more imaginative, all of the kind of things that you've been talking about. And so for me, the idea that the UN might designate one day a year and the week around it called World Creativity and Innovation Day seems to be just a really fitting marker of what we're all interested in, albeit that one day is not enough. But that's why I'm particularly interested in this today.
Well, you just said a week, actually. That's a red rag to a bull for me. You know that I'll go off on a week tour now if I could. Good job I'm locked in, isn't it?
Well, you go for it, Nick. I mean, in your virtual dreams, you can be anywhere, anytime.
Well, believe it or not, I shouldn't tell you my top secrets, but I did actually get out for my 30 minutes of exercise and went to the Houses of Parliament, Downing Street, Piccadilly Circus and Marble Arch the other day. So that's useful footage in the can, isn't it? We're going to have some fun.
That's very good. That's a bit of a clue, but it could just be a blind. You never know with you.
Well, you never know. So one of the things we talked about earlier was, and I don't want to get into sort of too much ideological around this. I mean, we were talking about parents and children earlier. We are in a situation now, a lot of people feel that the curriculum has been narrowed in the UK and in some other countries as a result of the OECD PISA league tables that at that time gave great emphasis on literacy and numeracy. Now, you're working as co-chair of a committee that's looking to change that. Could you give us an elevator pitch on the work of the panel you're co-chairing for the OECD?
So every 3 years, the OECD and its testing body, PISA, known to many across the world, because, as you say, they've focused on English or literacy and maths and science, they also do something else. And they badge this as something in the innovative domain, so pretty appropriate when we're talking about innovation today. And for example, in 2015, it was collaborative problem solving. I don't think anybody looking around the world today would find any surprise in that being accepted as a rather useful capability or competence to have. In 2018, they explored the idea of being a global citizen, and in 2021, the focus will be on creative thinking. So creative thinking isn't the same as maths or geography or history or science or all the other subjects. It's something that infuses all subjects. Just as collaborative problem solving isn't the unique preserve of somebody trying to make something in science or create a drama in English. And in that case, therefore, it presents some challenges to a world or a school world that's largely organized around subjects, largely organized around a school timetable. So we hope that the new PISA 2021 test of creative thinking will be a really powerful incentive to everybody to see that it is possible to be clear about what creativity is and why it's important. And most importantly, it's really possible to see how it embeds with every aspect of both the school formal life and all the other things that you've been talking about, Nick, in what you do at STEAMCO, which could be involving parents, could be after school, could be over the weekends. So there's your 90 seconds on why creative thinking may just inch its way up the esteem chart if we can really get this working well in 2021.
Okay, so interestingly enough, so we've got literacy, numeracy and other league tables. You're bringing one in around creative thinking. So how do you expect the UK to perform in that league table in 2021?
I think the UK's adults and children are innately and wonderfully curious and creative. So I think we will do really well, or I think we would do really well if we're entered into it, because the catch-22 here is, or just the catch, is that most of the OECD countries enter English, maths and science, but the fourth test, this one that changes every 3 years, is optional. I think there are enormous benefits to the UK and England in particular as part of that, showing the innate talent, creative capabilities of its students.
But it's optional.
It's not something that
we've entered it, haven't we?
for. I mean, that's That's the really important thing
Yeah,
about
yeah.
creativity. Everyday creativity is just that ability to have an idea when you need one, that ability to think sideways, that ability to take another perspective and make it into your own. So I'm hopeful that people won't see this as in any sense a league table activity, but in every sense a status building activity.
Now,
if you take the example of collaborative problem solving, I will let you have a word.
No,
in,
don't worry,
in
don't
a
worry,
moment, Nick.
don't worry.
If you take the example of collaborative problem solving, way back in 2015, the kind of work that the research group leading on that, Patrick Griffin's team in Melbourne, was doing, has really led us to be much more rigorous and precise and helpful and accurate and imaginative in the way that we understand how groups work together. So the assessment is just a clue really as to our understanding of what actually is going on when you're being collaborative, or in this case, when you're being really creative.
Now, you said it's optional. Now, I would assume we've entered that. Are we entering that, or what's going on as a country?
Well, as a country, that's a decision for the Department for Education. So I'm still hopeful.
Oh, good.
The last of the field trials are going on almost as we speak, or we're about to, until the COVID-19 stuff began to happen. There is still time because the test has been field trialed in other English-speaking countries, and so I'm hopeful. But at the moment, Nick, who knows?
Well, I mean, everything's up for grabs. And I think what is very interesting at the moment, I think this coronavirus, the COVID-19 lock-in, is we're starting to see, I'm going to take it up a scale, we're starting to see the value of what we call art. And we see art as the combination of creativity, tools or technology to express that creativity, and people that make and appreciate and connect with that. Art connects. So I think in this lock-in, we are seeing the value of that human connection. A lot of people are banging dustbin lids on a Thursday night to thank the NHS and other carers like teachers. They're playing music. I demonstrated an app earlier where you can do drumming with other people on the same app platform. I mean, and even, I don't want to make cheap snipes at people who've said we've had enough of experts, because now is not the time to make cheap snipes like that of back people who've said we've had enough of experts, because we clearly haven't. And I won't say it a third time because I think I've made my point. We are seeing the value of creativity, the way that McLaren and Mercedes collaborated with UCL and Dyson have produced. They haven't just talked about it, they haven't just had a committee meeting, they have used agile project management approaches to get product out to save lives. Creativity is Great Britain, and I'm very hopeful and confident that this country will use creativity to engineer and innovate its way out of this mess. I mean, I believe you've had some work, you've been involved with Kirsty Williams, the Welsh Minister of Education over there, and how would you, well, I don't want to compare and contrast, what would you say about what Wales are doing with their curriculum at the moment?
The new Welsh curriculum is very exciting. It puts creativity centrally into the curriculum. We've been working our model of creativity, 5 dimensions of creativity, being inquisitive, being imaginative, being persistent, being collaborative, and being disciplined, in the sense of really practicing and going deep and learning, recognizing that creativity, like other things in life, takes some sweat and some effort. In Wales, they've got something like 500 secondary schools that have been very actively involved in this, using our model and with our friends, creativity, culture and education. So the curriculum in Wales is benign, is encouraging, is exciting. The interesting thing is that although those words wouldn't necessarily describe the curriculum in England, I think the recent flexibility that Ofsted is showing, the encouragement that they're giving schools to tell the world what their intent is and how they might deliver that, the current crisis actually frees schools to do a little bit more creatively. And in that, even in that situation, you find the most incredibly creative schools. And one of my favourite here in England is Thomas Tallis School in South London, which has been doing this kind of thing for a very long time. But I could take you to 20 different countries across the world and find schools in very different educational administrations who are able to do this. We've recently noticed with excitement that the Brookings Institution has discovered that more than 50 countries across the world are now seeing creativity as a central part of what all young people should be experiencing. This is exciting. Now, we've not always been quick to take that up in the formal educational sense. There's another glimmer of hope there, because last year I was very pleased to be part of the Arts Council England sponsored Durham Commission on Creativity in Education. And later this year, we'll be announcing creativity collaboratives, real practical opportunities for schools to cluster together and be funded to develop these kind of techniques in greater detail. So I'm optimistic about what's going on in England. I'd love the Department for Education to opt into the creative thinking test, but there are so many positive lines of encouragement at the moment.
I feel like I'm just about to do a Jonathan Ross impersonation there, because you mentioned Thomas Tallis School, and is it Caroline, the head teacher there?
Carolyn Roberts.
Carolyn Roberts. She spoke at our event alongside Jeff Barton from Askell through your introduction. We're grateful for that. And their pedagogy is very much referenced in one of your books here, Teaching Creative Thinking. And I don't want to go into that now, because I know you've done a lot around that. I want to just blink and then do one of those, because this is your new book. Could you do an elevator pitch on this? I'd feel awful getting you on the show without giving you the chance to plug your new book with Crown House Publishing. So tell us about Zest for Learning, Bill, would you?
That's kind of unique. So Zest for Learning is all those things that some schools have somehow allowed to slip to the margins of what they're doing. The things that intersect with the co-curriculum or the extracurriculum, the things they do that are residential or that are outdoors or that are working in the community in some service sense. So they might be working with the Scouts, they might be working with a heritage group or an arts group or an engineering group. But we believe, and Zest for Learning shows, how these need to be and can be central. Now, if you're going to do that, it's an act of brave leadership in the current context of our schools. And we've uncovered fantastic schools doing wonderful work, making this central, making the kind of additional experiences, especially in areas which are serving areas that are not well off financially. It's absolutely essential that we show them this more expansive, educating Ruby-like vision of education. So Zest for Learning lays out what Zest is, that recovering of energy and joie de vivre and love of learning, and it shows in the real politic of today's English education climate, and there are examples from Australia and Chile. It actually lays out how you can do that. So it's a sort of a very friendly, practical, research-led guide to making your school more zestful, relevant and joyful.
Fantastic. I wish you wouldn't publish such heavy books, because this is killing my arm, you know. I'm going to say here and now.
You can't measure a book by its weight.
By its cover. They're pretty cool covers, actually. I'm going to say here and now, because we've got a great relationship with Crown House Publishing down there in South Wales in Carmarthen. And you try juggling books behind, because it's all back to front. I'm going to say here and now that we're going to give away 3 of these books, 3 sets of 3 of these books, because I've actually got them in a book here, and I'm sure that Crown House Book Publishing would cover that for the promotion that we're giving these books globally. Educating Ruby, a book for parents, for teachers, for policymakers, for creatives who care about creativity, who care about kids, and who care about all our futures. Creative Thinking, which talks about teaching, testing and creative models, and the fantastic wheel models which are in there for Thomas Tallis and the school down there in Australia, and Zest for Learning. 3 copies of those for anybody who tweets us using hashtag World Creativity Day, hashtag Community Lock-in, hashtag Art Connects. We'll put them in a hat and we'll draw those and we'll get those sent to you. Bill, can't thank you enough for your time today, and I'm really excited that book there echoes some of the thinking, some of the things that we've been looking at this year. People like Richard Gerver, his book Manifesto for Change, the theme for that was collaboration, and he's supported us immensely on that. We had a chat last week, and I know you don't have time to wade through all the stuff that we're generating. Dr. John Patterson in Liverpool, I must connect you with him. He's the head teacher of a school called St Vincent's in Liverpool in West Derby. It's a visually impaired school, and they've written some comics and books, and they're sending them all over the world to inspire people through creativity. But what was really special about his comments that he made on the show last week was how they're collaborating with the Scouts, with the Rotary, with the police. I had a like from the Chief Constable of Liverpool yesterday for that post, which was very special, because when we start connecting the whole community like this, we start working as a community for our children, and ultimately for our economy, and ultimately for all our futures. Would you agree with that role and need for corporate collaboration?
Absolutely. And the most important message I'd want to get out today is, if my late friend and colleague Anna Kraft was alive, she'd be reminding us that we are all creators. What she called everyday or small c creativity. And the whole focus of World Creativity and Innovation Day is not to say that we just do this one day in 365, but to really highlight the importance of creativity and innovation in a world where we're facing some soul-searching, trenchant, really complex problems. And so I would just love, as well as that very kind, those kind remarks you've been making about my work, I'm actually more interested in surfacing the creative endeavors of schools across the world. So I'd love people to tweet out the kind of things that they're doing routinely, day in, day out, and very differently probably at the moment in the current climate, to really boost young people's creativity.
Absolutely, and you know I'd love to see that. And this is, you know, we're global. I mean, I've been beavering away on my own, and you've seen the sort of trials and tribulations. I've remortgaged 3 times now. I really struggled to get the cash together. LGFL have helped us with this, and you know what? For once in my life, I can't do anything else. I can't do anything else but sit here broadcasting, connecting with people like you. And one thing I'd just like to say very finally is last year was our hashtag Art Connects 19 year, showing this Art Connects thing, the Seth Godin phrase that we got. This year's been called hashtag Collaborate 20, inspired by Richard Gerver, inspired by something Nile Rodgers said. Next year, we're going to do Inspire a Nation 21, which I think might be interesting with what you're saying about the OECD 2021. And I don't know if you know, but 2022, the government have allocated a national festival of creativity. Were you aware of that?
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
And that's great to have me reminded.
And already the haters have come out because it was originally positioned as a festival to reunite the country post-Brexit, whichever way it went. And now what's happening is a lot of creatives, if you like, who are Remainers, are saying that anybody who gets involved in a festival of creativity that is to celebrate and bring us together after Brexit is therefore Brexit by definition, I think is very, very misguided. And there's a lot of hate, and we're going to shoot that down because we are on a trajectory with Steamco 19, 20, 21, 22. We want to take this out on the streets in 2022 and be part of that festival. And I hope we can count on your continued support, Bill. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Good. You certainly can. You know, I don't do hate and I don't do binary. I always try and find ways of bringing people together. But I love what you're doing. So thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you so much, Bill. I'm going to play out now with a film we made with the Culture Minister last year with Nile Rodgers to celebrate creativity and to show what we did last year. Thank you so much for your support, Bill. I can't thank you enough. I really can't.
All right.
Thank you very much. Be in touch. Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
It might not work, but here's the thing. The guy who invented the ship also invented the shipwreck. And either you're in or you're out. Either you want to play this game or you don't. Art doesn't work because we did something conventional and predictable, and here it is industrialized, right? Art works because we connect.
So the festival that we will be organising in 2022 is a festival of creativity in its broadest sense. So what we're looking for is events that will help to bring people together and show the value of art.
Debate like this is absolutely overdue. Being from a working class family as well, we've never had access to the arts.
I think this is amazing, and we should encourage Nick to do more of this so that we can connect friends through art. Is actually amazing.
Well, a lot of schools have taken music out of their curriculum, and I find that really appalling.
This book is going to change lives. There are 7 stories.
Keep doing what you're doing. I love your passion. Please keep doing what you're doing. Inspiring the kids. I think it's great. Not enough parents spending enough time with the kids. They leave them on the iPads and things like that. And I absolutely love it. Keep doing what you're doing. I love your passion.
Boys will be boys. Better let them have their toys. Girls will be girls. Cute ponytails and curls. Must put an end to this stress and strain. I think I want to live that sporting life.
I'm going to make it happen for you, Nick.
I appreciate that.
Well, I'm going to make it happen for you because what you're doing is, in the end, absolutely brilliant.
I had the idea of getting a big screen to come here and celebrate. And I did a thing called a crowdfunder. I said to lots of people, I only gave myself 24 hours, and they said, you'll never do it.
For the Lord.
Art and creativity is absolutely everything, you know, to secure the jobs for the future.
Niall, what does collaboration mean to you?
For me, collaboration is everything. So my whole life is a collaboration.
Unbelievable there to have the support of Professor Bill Lucas from co-chair of OECD from Winchester University, been an incredible supporter. The last year or so, we've only really connected in the last year or so. We've, as I say, we've worked with and known Guy Claxton, who's been equally generous over the years. Two amazing men, and I can't recommend this book enough to you, Educating Ruby, for parents, teachers alike. It's a very simple, common English book about what needs to change and what education might look like, and also what to look for if you're looking at schools. And in terms of schools, I'm going to cut now to a film that we made with a man who's been similarly supportive. In fact, not similarly supportive, nobody's been more supportive than this man. A head teacher from a school on a socially challenged estate in Leeds, the Seacroft estate. The head teacher of a school that when he took it over had a padded cell for primary children to go into if they misbehaved. There were children running around on the roofs, playing Tig on the roof, 170 exclusions in 1 year, and as many head teachers over a 7-year period as there were years. 7 head teachers every year. People did not want this job. Rather like Richard Gerver in Derby when he applied for a job and got it because nobody else applied because it was considered a failing school. Parklands Primary was considered a failing school as well. But this head teacher, Chris Dyson, took the school over. The first thing he did with his newfound budget was buy a sound system and pump music through that school. And I went into that school 2 years ago at the introduction of an amazing man called Bryn Llewellyn of Tagdivate, the active sports organisation for helping people through activity to learn. He introduced me to 4 teachers that week and 4 head teachers in schools in Leeds, and I went into Parklands Primary on the Friday morning. The Gorillas was banging out on the sound system. I thought, this is a happy school. And a man in a multicoloured tie and a 3-piece suit ran in and gave me a hug, and it was Chris Dyson. We had the most amazing morning. That evening I had dinner with his family, and 3 months later I stayed at his home when I revisited the city. An incredible friend, an incredibly supporter, but most importantly, a brave school leader. Rather like Steve Williamson, the head teacher at a school in Sunderland, Northern Saints Primary, who said to me, creativity is important, and Ofsted are clear, they value creativity, but it takes a brave school leader to go with their heart and to go with their head, to go with what they know works and go with their heart as to what is right for the children in their care. And it's not right for everybody, which is why, as Bill says, we don't do binary head thinking. We don't do left or right, right or wrong, trad or prog. We need to come together. We need to realise, and I'm hoping that the coronavirus, the lock-in, is going to make us all realise that we've got much more in common than which divides us. The Pareto rule is always applicable and always appropriate. 80% of what every teacher, every educationalist believes is the same and for the right reasons and common ground. But we fight battles over those 20% extremes, and that's where we make the mistake. This film I called Inspiration. I pressed the wrong button then. This film I called Inclusion Through Inspiration. And in 2 minutes, it tells the story of that amazing school leader, Chris Dyson.
You know, Parklands is an extraordinary example in terms of the work that the school is doing within the community, you know, the work that Chris Dyson has done.
Well, as you said, I'm Chris Dyson. I'm head teacher at a school up in the most deprived area of Leeds, Parklands. I inherited the school 3 years ago that had 150 exclusions, 5 head teachers in the same year, 5 different behaviour policies. Exclusions was the easy option, and it wasn't the best place to actually be. The school was inadequate, but the same team that have worked together have seen now we have no exclusions whatsoever in school, and we've actually started taking excluded children from other schools to bring them into our environment.
I mean, there's been a lot of talk about behaviour, especially this week with the Lose the Booze event. Well, we've got to be respecting everyone's different ways of doing things. I mean, for myself, I love Paul Dix, and I think this is one of the best books that I personally have ever read. But I think behaviour can be encouraged by inspiration, you know, by getting the children to do exciting, innovative things through the curriculum, through the arts, through collaboration. So the key to the outstanding behaviour we've got here at Parklands is empathy. It's love, it's giving opportunities, it's believing in the children and giving them those opportunities to excel at things and to take a risk, you know.
When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is
And it shows that you believe in the people, you believe in these teachers, you believe in these kids, absolutely anything is possible.
Amazing school leader there, Chris Dyson from Parklands Primary up there in Leeds, an amazing man. And as Bill Lucas just said there, art, creativity, everybody an artist, everybody has this creativity in us. We're all born creative, and then if we're not careful, we let it get taught or lost in some way, taught out of us possibly by whatever happens in our life. And this man has been equally supportive and inspiring to us. A lot of people don't know this guy. A lot of people know the Ken Robinsons, but this is Seth Godin. Big name in the world of marketing and advertising, where I came from, around marketing and understanding behavior to get people to buy things and do things and change their behaviors with regards to social media and email and all that sort of stuff. And he, for me, reinforced an agenda item, a view that I have, that frankly hardly anybody cares about kids or creativity or what goes on in our schools until they have their own kids. Now, care is a bit strong to say people don't care, but people don't notice and don't have an awful lot to do with it. And a large part of the agenda for STEAMco is to bring the conversation about what is happening and what needs to happen in our schools out of this echo chamber and the various echo chambers of education, and connect with the world of business, and to connect with broader society via the Arts Council and the government, and business via companies like Google and Barclays, who've been very, very generous to us over the years. And we're hoping that they'll be able to help us as we roll out over the next few months to fill the gap and the void left by the absence of festivals and a number of other cultural activities. But Seth Godin said something in a book he published called Your Turn, which is about stepping up and doing your bit, because it is your turn. But a lot of people can't give their jobs up and can't rush off to the Maldives to be yoga teachers and to go and do that dream job. I've had a midlife career change, which has been absolutely fantastic, which has enabled me to do this, but it's been very, very difficult. It's taken its toll on my finances, it's taken its toll on my family, and I can't underestimate that to you or apologise enough to them. But what I'd like to do now is show you this Seth Godin film, which inspired the Art Connects piece.
It's always about one thing: connection. Chat, email, Facebook, go down the list. They are about connection. Airbnb works because it connects someone who has a house with someone who needs a house. Connection. We are leaving the industrial economy and entering the connection economy. You don't have to like it, but it's true. Art is what we call it when someone does something that might connect us to someone else. We can agree that Jackson Pollock was an artist, right? He was jeered and ridiculed when he started, in some quarters he still is. But there's also no question that people gasp when they see his work and they go out of their way to see his work, and his work touches them. But did you know that Jackson Pollock had a brother? His brother's name was Charles. Charles Pollock was a painter, not an artist. He painted just like his teacher, Thomas Hart Benton. No one's ever heard of Charles Pollock because we don't need someone to paint like someone else. But it doesn't have anything to do with paint. Marcel Duchamp nearly caused a riot in 1917 when he put an upside-down urinal into an art exhibit. He called it a ready-made. The second person to install a urinal in an art exhibit was a plumber. And that's the decision you're going to make. Are you going to be a plumber, or are you going to do something that might not work? And it happens all the time. It might not work, but here's the thing. The guy who invented the ship also invented the shipwreck. And either you're in or you're out. Either you want to play this game or you don't. Art doesn't work because we did something conventional and predictable, and here it is industrialized, right? Art works because we connected. You know, my friend Shalene gave me a sentence that I want to leave you with. I hope you'll think about it as you consider whether you want to get off the plane, whether you're willing to lead, whether you care enough to make art, whether you're willing to connect, whether you're willing to ask hard questions about deindustrializing where you work. And it's this: everyone in this room has made it this far, you are already successful. That is not in doubt. The question is simple. Are you going to matter? I hope you will. Thanks for your attention.
Are you going to matter? I hope you will. And that's the message there from Seth Godin. That's the message that inspired the whole Art Connects year we did last year. And as I said, this year is our Collaborate 20 year. And you saw a moment ago Chris Dyson in a primary school. And a lot of people might say, well, that's all very well in primary, but secondary is where we need to really drill down on the behaviour, on the strict behaviour management and zero tolerance approaches that we hear about so much, and the exclusion and isolation booths to get kids to conform. And we've been very, very lucky to work with a school in Portsmouth called Bridge Mary Secondary School, with an incredible design technology teacher there who leads their STEAM work called Emma Cairns. And this film is a session we ran there as part of a collapsed timetable day.
We've had an amazing day today at Bridge Mary School. We've been doing our Aspire STEAM Fair, launching our new ethos in school about aspirations and about people's future, making sure our young people have the best futures possible.
Art is what we call it when someone does something that might connect us to someone else.
They've had a range of different events available to them, from higher education to STEM ambassadors, the Royal Navy, BAE Systems. We've got digital artists in as well. Our students are involved in launching rockets today, getting involved, speaking to strangers, learning about things they maybe didn't know about. They're on the South Coast and working with other people. Our Year 7s are really lucky. They have STEAM on their curriculum. 3 lessons a fortnight they have, promoting the arts in STEM. That creative thinking, applying that knowledge and understanding of STEM theory to create outcomes. Through creative thinking, thinking outside the box, and applying all that knowledge and understanding they gain within their curriculum. Our students have had a great day with STEAMco here as well, launching their rockets, learning about how to participate, working with other students in different year groups. It's been a great day where art has been at the centre of our heart and the love that we have for the arts of Bridge Mary School.
By participating in a global art project, and together we turn the world inside out. And this starts right now. Yes, everyone in the room. Take the photo, the portraits, upload it, and I'll send you back your poster. Join by groups and reveal things to the world. So I hope that together we'll create something that the world will remember. And this starts right now and depends on you. Thank you.
JD there, the French street artist who won $1 million from the TED Talks people. And he runs a campaign called the Inside Out Project, where he wants to turn the world inside out with art and show how art can make the world a better place. So basically he's approved a campaign with us whereby people can download a sheet of A4 from our website and draw a heart, as you see here, and then take a selfie, send it to us, and we get it printed as a poster and fly post it, as you saw there. Very, very simple mechanism to connect kids with their art. We go to festivals, we print t-shirts, and we're looking for 3 of these to be sent in today, and we'll print them on t-shirts so that people can wear them on Friday for our Rocket Kids Club launch event. But what really is special is when that comes together to connect a broader community than a bunch of children colouring in heart symbols or drawing heart symbols. And what I'd like to show you now is a film that we made with the head teacher you saw at the end of that last film, Chris Tolson, who's an incredible school leader from Academy St James in Bradford. And basically he has supported us through a number of STEAMco days. We've run a number of events and days with him. And this is what happened one day last summer as part of an Arts Council supported summer of activities we did, where we had a week at Camp Festival and then a day in Bradford working with his school.
I have a dream. One day, this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created.
absolutely fantastic there. We called that the White Hart of Yorkshire, to represent the white back of the image that then became the pictures of all those people that were involved with that. I'm broadcasting today from the hashtag Community Lock-In, which is a studio we've set up somewhere in the UK, but we could be anywhere, and that's the whole point. And it was all brought around because 3 weeks ago I had a whole summer of work cancelled, and it's the first year I've ever had any work pre-booked. It's been very, very difficult getting this far. I had 3 keynote speeches. One of them was with an organisation called LGFL, the London Grid for Learning. They could be the Liverpool or Leeds Grid for Learning, because they're now working with schools all across the country, giving them internet connectivity, but also creative tools through the Adobe Creative Cloud suite of products, as well as a whole range of curriculum content that they create themselves, as well as connect with partners to create. It was quite clear that the event on the 23rd of April, that would have been tomorrow, has been cancelled, or the day after tomorrow. And I went to see the CEO, John Jackson, at their offices, and here's a 2-minute film of the incredible conversation we had and the decision that he made then and there.
And I hope you really think about those STEAM skills, bringing technology and arts together.
Here I am at LGFL's HQ. Got a meeting up there with John and Bob. Gonna have a bit of chat about this event that's coming up and their plans to support the country's needs educationally, technologically wise, as we go into a pretty tough period. John, I'm absolutely delighted you've invited me to come and do the closing keynote for your curriculum conference on April the 23rd. But where are we at with that in a nutshell?
Gosh, well, we're still going to go for it, right? You know, we're thinking, you know, if we're not going to do it physically, you know what, let's do it virtually, and let's do it in a way that no one's done it before. Let's do something really cool and exciting.
Okay, well, I announced the other day that I'm calling my part of the day the hashtag LGFL Art Takeover. Art is the combination of creativity, technology and people. If there's one organisation that gets that, it's you guys. I'm going to make a little announcement here and now then. Well, I'm delighted to say that we've been given one of these JD Easy robots. I've become known as not only as a born-again Elton John fan, but also I'm seen as a bit of a rocket man myself for making rockets. It's amazing to make a rocket like that out of a few pieces of paper with a mum or a dad in the school and fire it hundreds of feet in the air with nothing but a puff of air from a bike pump, and then to let a dynamite rocket off. So we're launching the hashtag Rocket Kids Club for kids who aim high in life. Are you buying that proposition?
Absolutely, I love it. I absolutely love it.
And what we're going to do is we're going to relocate somewhere in the country and set up a little studio. We're going to do videos, we're going to do online content, and I really want to work with you. Niall Rodgers said to us in Liverpool at the end of last year,
For me, collaboration is everything. I
so
believe
for us,
that
from January the 1st, the theme was collaboration. Hashtag Collaborate20.
So Nick, we're really looking forward to working with you and supporting you as we move into the future.
Let's fist bump to that, shall we?
Together, folks, let's make 2020 the start of something special.
As I say, can't thank John Jackson and Bob and Laura and the whole team over there enough for their support, for making this possible. They've sponsored the studio and they've sponsored us to run their co-conference as one of the 4 themes and streams within our community lock-in. So we'll be doing that on a date which is just about to be confirmed, but that's in very, very early May and we can't wait. And that's going to be part of our UK Art Takeover, a month of activities. So really excited about that. And now we've got a facility, I think one of the best video conferencing facilities anywhere in the world. I haven't seen anybody doing this. I saw a conference that Adobe did, a creative conference, which was fantastic. Had some great speakers, some great creative work, brilliant Adobe tools, but it was a video conference based with screens like this. They didn't have the video overlay, they didn't have the green screen, the stuff we've got, and they certainly didn't have JD the robot. And we're absolutely delighted that we're going to be having a JD competition. So we're going to have a competition to win a robot like this in the next few weeks, and we'll be calling that draw, and we're looking for parents, we're looking for teachers, we're looking for children to enter this competition and to win it for their school community. This is not something that stays at home and lives in a shelf or in a cupboard. It belongs in a school community. What do you think of that, JD? Not too sure? Oh, well, not to worry. And in the Rocket Kids Club on Friday, we're going to show kids over the weeks how to code, how to program, how to connect JD to the cloud so he can access the AI functions and facilities. Unbelievable technology there. So we're so grateful to Easy Robot for giving us a JD robot there. Going to be absolutely brilliant. So I'm getting a bit croaky. You saw a person in that last film, the current Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, who last year was the Culture Minister, the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Minister. And we were absolutely delighted when we were given the opportunity to go into his office to film a small video clip for him to essentially speak at an event that we ran in my home county of Shropshire.
On BBC Radio Shropshire. Good morning, it's 19 minutes to 8. If you heard the sound of a rocket being launched in Coalbrookdale yesterday, don't worry. It was an event aimed at getting young people inspired in science and technology. Ironbridge Gorge Museum Trust has been working with STEAM Co to put on a day of workshops, talks and creative stuff for children, their parents and teachers.
Here we are in Ingenuity. The world's first ever steam train was built here by Richard Trevithick, who came up from Cornwall, because nobody in Cornwall could build a boiler strong enough, because only the Shropshire lads and boiler lasses could make boilers strong enough for him. 3 months ago, Matt Hancock, DCMS, launched the Culture is Digital campaign, which made us think, hang on, Ironbridge, culture, digital technology. I was in a school in Telford and there were some children there from really challenged backgrounds who really were being left behind.
If we can get 1 or 2 children just really interested in science, interested in engineering.
So when I thought back to that event we had at Barclays.
It's about bringing creativity to some of the most deprived children in the country.
This time around, we are committed to leaving no one behind, right?
And we thought, right, well, let's have a day in Ironbridge. And that's what we've done.
Welcome to Ingenuity.
Any job, and there will be tech in there.
It's been incredible. I mean, the community's come together. We've had people from Barclays, we've had people from BT running coding and computational thinking activities. But I think one of the most amazing things that just shows how art connects, quite literally, was Monday morning I got a call from Matt Hancock's office saying Matt's got 10 minutes in his diary, pop down, let's make a video, and we did that. And on the wall behind him was a Damien Hirst painting, a spin painting of the Queen. And today we've had children spin painting on paper plates with pictures of the Queen, inspired by the work of Damien Hirst, inspired by a picture on the wall of the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Minister, Matt Hancock. So thank you, Matt.
I hope you really think about those STEAM skills, bringing technology and arts together.
Absolutely delighted there for that representation by Matt Hancock, then Culture Minister. Whatever your politics, he's our Culture Minister, he's our Digital Culture, Media and Sport Minister at the time. And we are here to work with whoever's in government. We are not politically aligned, but we will call organisations and individuals out on policy if we don't agree with it. And we'd always love to work and talk to Department of Education or anybody. They launched a new school on Monday called the Oak National Academy, which looks absolutely fantastic. A lot of teachers have done some great work, delivering some great content on that. And it was great to see art and creativity recognised and reflected in the curriculum of that school. I think what we're doing with our Rocket Kids Club is possibly a little bit more of an after-school club than a core education thing, because I'm not a teacher, but I'm doing my best to connect with people who know their stuff in the world of business, the world of creativity, culture, and the community, to bring those people into schools to inspire our kids, because teachers can't do it all. They really can't. And as far as I'm concerned, the worst teacher, the worst head teacher, is somebody who says, I know everything, I don't need to leave this school, I don't need to go to conferences because I know it all. Well, the world is changing, and it's changed more than we'll ever know in the next few weeks and months, and we need to come together as a collective effort. Collaborate 20, hashtag Collaborate 20 was the theme of this year, inspired by a number of people. Richard Gerver, his book Education, a Manifesto for Change, was all about collaboration. Nile Rodgers, who said, as you saw earlier in the film, that to me collaboration is everything. I write a song, but it takes an orchestra to deliver it and play it and bring it to life. And an organisation, Google, who have been a rock to us over the years. We haven't heard much from them in the last few months, years. I don't know quite why, but not to worry. the point is that 6 years ago, when we needed somebody to support us at the Royal Institution, when we launched STEAMco at the Kid Crafters event, which we ran at the Royal Institution, because nobody would let us speak at their events, nobody would write about us, so we had to run our own event. And the only organisation that stepped up to help us then was Google. They were just launching YouTube and they were paying for content, and they sent a full broadcast production crew to film that, and I was in awe because I had no idea what that consisted of, and it was not cheap because it was full broadcast quality. And here I am now in a studio with a whole range of kit that literally enables me to deliver something very similar to that with very little cost. So here on the screen you can now see the kit that I've got here. I'm going to give you a sneaky peek. I've got a robot, I've got a vision mixer with 8 channels, I've got an iPad that lets me control the vision mixer sound channels, 3 computers, one for 2 people Skyping in, third one streaming to the web, and then another laptop just here, which is my PowerPoint, which is where I'm sending most of the stuff out from, and that is it. And if you really are interested, behind over there is a camera that's filming me, and on the wall up there is a video screen, which is what I see everything going out on. So if you wonder why I'm looking over your shoulder a little bit, it's because I'm looking on that screen. So that is the craziness that we're working with here. I have built a TV studio in my office, my home office for STEAMco, because now is the time. Nobody's locking us in, nobody's locking us down. They're going to lock us in. Maybe this is a community lock-in, because we are planning. We are going to connect this country back together with the power of art, creativity, tools, technology, and people. We say tools, and oh, what's happened there? My laptop's just died. I didn't plug it in, did I? Oh, there we go. Let's come back to life. I haven't got my power on for my laptop. That's not a good look. So let's get that back. There we go. So Google have been incredibly supportive. They funded that video at the first event. Nishma Rob, the marketing director, stood up when we had an event in Liverpool with Sir Ken Robinson and gave us the money we needed to get that to happen as well. Very small amount of money, but really made the difference. And then we had an event last year and they supported that as well. We need more companies like Google to step up. Google are doing good work sponsoring stuff at the moment. They're giving a lot of ads credits to people. They're funding newspapers and journalism, which is struggling at the moment. And they're stepping up to support databases and AI to help with the scientific battle. We appeal today to Google to support us in this project, the project to connect this country, to connect the world with art, the power of creativity, technology and people, because I don't know any company that brings those 3 together the way that Google do, the way that LGFL do, and the way that Barclays do, because we've worked with Barclays as well. We need more companies like that to step up and support us. And we know these are tough times, but we know there's money in the kitty kicking around if we can prove that we can do great work and really have some impact, and we can, and we are. I'm going to prove that to you now, because here is a film we made on the Art of Code Week with Google at Copenhagen School, a LGFL school, sponsored by the Arts Council and Google, collaborating together.
Do it!
Put your hands in. Guys.
It's not scary. It's Lego. It's not going to hurt.
Go on.
Like that. See?
You don't have to get, but it's fine. Go all the way, touch it all the way in. All the way in.
It doesn't hurt. See? See? Not like
Big round of applause, please. That's brilliant. So grateful to Google for their support, the Arts Council collaborating together to fund a whole programme of work, from the summer where we worked with Academy St James with the White Hart of Yorkshire you saw there, a festival, Camp Festival, where we had a main stage slot with Jimmy Rotherham, the music teacher from Bradford. We had our own stage where we had activities all day. We had dancing, ukulele, science, rapping, DJ talks, art, rocket making, a complete stand there. And then pop-ups through the summer in Cornwall at the Notting Hill Carnival that we saw earlier. We played those videos this morning. A whole range of activities showing the power of art and creativity to connect. And quite frankly, we need to see creative people and creative organisations come together to work with us. We call on more companies like Google and Barclays and these creative organisations and individuals, the RSA, the Creative Industries Federation, the Creative Industries Council, to work with us, to collaborate for creativity. And I'm sure this message will resonate with them all.
There can be few causes closer to a creative heart than creativity itself. Creativity is what it is to be human. It powers economies and connects communities. A critical skill, even career option for our kids, yet at risk in our schools, misunderstood by many teachers, parents, voters and policymakers.
Civilization is a race between education and catastrophe.
It's almost a crisis. I'm Nick Corston. I'm just a dad who saw a TED talk and decided to walk the talk. With fellow parents, teachers, artists and other carers, I co-founded a project in my son's school in Paddington. 2 years ago, I took a call to park my own marketing career and roll out what we'd done across the UK as a non-profit social enterprise to advocate for creativity in schools by providing inspiration and the resources to educate, inspire and connect school communities. Our first 3-day Art Connects Festival showcased creative schools, work and lives. We're now planning next year's. A Parliament event kicked off a 13-week Inspire a Nation UK tour that went from the southwest to the Great Exhibition of the North. We gave out 10,000 newspapers. We also provide resources for school communities to run STEAMco days. On these mini creativity festivals, children choose from creative activities from coding to newspaper engineering, improv to inventing. And our Inspirator programme taps into our kids' obsession with creative celebrity. Well established in education, we now need creative businesses to stand up for what they care about and help us run STEAMco days. We have a funding plan for a 2-year expansion phase, and as well as needing people help, we need funding to put more of our drop trucks on the road, containing everything a community needs to run a STEAMco day. Let's show how a whole village can inspire a child. Let's connect more creative companies with parents and teachers in schools in this way.
Hey, please do another STEAMco day.
Let's put creativity first. Let's collaborate for creativity. I think that's a contribution every designer can make. Message there from Johnny Ive, then Chief Creative Officer at Apple, the world's most profitable company, on the back of creativity, technology, and people like him. Creativity, we must put creativity first. Today is World Creativity Day, which is why I'm doing this short talk, following on from a fantastic chat we've just had with Professor Bill Lucas, co-chair of the OECD PISA committee for looking at testing creative thinking and critical thinking in 2021. Brilliant to have him on the show. You can rewind to that. Creativity, we must put creativity first, and that's what that's all about, and that's what that talk was all about. Well, what is creativity? What does it mean to some of the communities that we work with? You'll find out when I turn the audio on, I'm sure.
It's about bringing creativity to some of the most deprived children in the country. And what we're asking for is the opportunity for a STEAMco day at our school.
Creativity is really what it is to be human, isn't it?
How we as the marketing industry, how we can tackle the really important subjects that matter to us as human beings as well as to marketeers.
If we're going to outpace the robots, then the sense of empathy and creativity and problem solving and all that stuff becomes more important. And on our watch, if we're not careful, the very things that you're saying you value and I value so much for my children are being squeezed out.
We're gonna work this out because this can't go on for anymore.
If we want to advocate for creativity
And in fact, that
in our
car-
places of learning and in our workplaces, we need to connect.
My God, that sounds like the complete setup, right?
We are leaving the industrial economy and entering the connection economy. You don't have to like it, but it's true. Art is what we call it when someone does something that might connect us to someone else.
I hope you really think about those STEAM skills.
So what we really need to do is get into primary schools, get into schools and get kids young to start teaching them not only about the options which might be available and open to them later on in their lives, but also preparing them for a world where 40% of current jobs are going to disappear. So what are the skills which are going to be most relevant to people going forward?
What we're doing is we're looking for companies to pay for what we call pop-up STEAMco kits, almost like a UN survival kit that gets helicoptered into Tottenham, or helicoptered into an estate in the middle of Cornwall, or gets helicoptered into Northumbria, so that the community can pick this kit up and go and inspire their children with creativity. We've got some guys here from your favourite store, Digital Agency in Shoreditch, who are closing for the day, and they're going to go down to a school and they're going to inspire those kids with creativity, because not every school is as cosy as my school in Paddington. Not every school's got parents they can draw on.
This has been a most amazing day, absolutely amazing. Our Year 4 and Year 5 children are having an incredible time with a whole range of activity, coding, artwork, designing, a really amazing day.
I wish for you to stand up for what you care about.
I'm doing some spin painting. Centrifugal force does it.
What has carried me is creativity. Creativity is not the monopoly of artists. You can be a businessman and a poet, you can be a lawyer and a poet, you can be a doctor and a poet. It's true.
I'm absolutely pleased that your favourite story, the Digital Company, has provided a team of experts to support our children, and they have been amazing. They have allowed our children to have an opportunity that they wouldn't normally have, and now our children have real ideas about what is possible out there in that field.
When greatness walks into the room, greatness does not have to announce itself.
I've had a really fun day teaching children to microbit code. I didn't really sort of have many skills on that myself until today, but I've learned, and so have the children. It's been great.
Bonkers or useful invention ideas. You might be wondering what I'm wearing on my head. Well, this is a reverse listening device that I made from tubes and kitchen funnels. Okay, I've shown you some of my invention ideas, but I want to challenge you to come up with your own invention ideas.
The very essence of greatness is caught by young people. That's why they're addicted to artists, they're addicted to footballers, because they don't question their creativity, they just allow it to flow.
I'm a designer by trade, and what we're doing here today is we are inventing flying vehicles, not so much aeroplanes, something that flies and propels through the air.
We've been asking the kids today to build their dream school of the future. We've given them a massive Lego set, we've given them 20 minutes, we've had them create these incredible nirvanas of education. We've had sharks and we've had kings and we've had princesses and we've had uber technological advances for education. It's just unleashed so much in these children. It's been so much fun.
I just made a rocket and I can't wait to fly it.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's very educational.
One of the greatest drivers for our achievement here in this community is our parents and their involvement in their children to give their children better life chances. And today we've had parents and members of the community coming in to help us. A year ago when I spoke at the Barclay Tower, I said creativity is a luxury because of the focus on the basic skills that we have to consider in our community. But what I also said is that as a community, we may be broke, but we're not broken. And that is showing here today. It has been a day to remember.
The kids have thoroughly enjoyed it. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and we've learned so much too.
And I would recommend this to anyone, any head teacher, any school in the country. Just go for it. You won't regret it. It'll be a day to remember.
love art because it's creative. I love art because it's creative and you can just use your imagination.
That's why we spell STEM with an A. The children are going to take this passport home tonight and they're going to sit down with their parents and tell them about the day they had. They're going to tell them the Homer Hickam Rocket Boy story. They're going to ask them some of the questions about Elon Musk and Tesla, see if they know who the first Briton in space was, and tell them about the microbit that they learnt to code today. Hundreds of children today learnt to code the BBC microbit. It's phenomenal. It's been an amazing day. Seeing these children really use their imagination, celebrate creativity, and to power this community to inspire their children with creativity. That's what we do at STEAMCO, because we believe it takes a whole village to inspire a child.
There are many brilliant kids in schools who think they're not because they don't have to be particularly interested or good at academic work. And actually, you know, if you left the world to academics, we'd be going off a cliff really quickly. You know, the world needs people who can do practical, vocational things and who love doing that. Politicians tend to focus on the things that they think are going to be of most use economically: science, technology, engineering and math. And they are important. It's what I keep trying to say. These are a necessary but not a sufficient condition for an education system. But it's also important we should involve them in the arts. I mean, if you want to understand yourself and the cultures around you, you have to engage with music and art and poetry and dance. And by the way, for some people, this is their love. This is what they're good at. This is where they come alive. This is what motivates them to do anything with their lives. And so what people are arguing, that's behind your work, Nick, which I admire greatly and I'm very grateful for, is to put A into STEM so it becomes STEAM. But it's really just another way of saying, can we please have a balanced curriculum and not a narrow, obsessively linear curriculum? Civilization is a race between education and catastrophe.
It's always nice to be name-checked by somebody like Sir Ken Robinson. Absolutely fantastic. Global World Creativity Day, United Nations, creativity is a human right. Behind me at the moment is a stained glass driverless sleeper car designed by a young man from Sunderland who was given a book when he was young about inventions and drawing, and he drew and drew and drew. He went to the Royal College of Art here in London, one of the global centres for creativity that collaborates with the Imperial College University next door, which has been ranked as one of the best, if not the best, universities in the world. And they collaborate with creativity, with science and technology to great effect. Johnny Ives was the alumni, I believe. Oh no, he was Northumbria University. Was he? No, maybe not. Whatever. And this car tells quite a story. And I'm now going to just show you a 2-minute film of highlights of a keynote speech I gave in Brazil to launch STEAMCO in Brazil, because the World Creativity Day has been centered, a lot of the activity has been centered on Brazil. A lot of the branding, a lot of the really cool graphics have been done in Brazil. So I think it's only fitting to celebrate that relationship, that global connection, Northern-Southern Hemisphere connection. The day I met a very interesting guy and we shook hands on a very interesting proposition. For the British government to promote creativity to the world. Let's rewind that. And in fact, that car features in an advertising campaign for the British government to promote creativity to the world. And that's what we're here today. We're here to tell you in Brazil and other countries all over the world watching this that Britain is powered by creativity, and we want to collaborate and work with you and your education systems and your countries and your communities and your schools to spread the power of creativity, technology and people. Well, hello everybody down there at Bet Educar in Sao Paulo. I'm Nick Corsten from STEAMCO, and I'm speaking to you today from the RSA, the Royal Society of the Arts, here in central London. Actually, I'm down in the basement. I'm in the basement in a space called Rothmel's Coffee House. Back in the 1750s, a bunch of people got together and met in coffee houses across London and put a plan together to form an organisation, to start a movement of fellows, men and women, to make the world a better place. And it's now dedicated to the advancement of 21st century enlightenment.
Connection. Art is what we call it when someone does something that might connect us to someone else.
This is for people who want to connect. This talk is for people who believe in art. This talk is for people who believe in creativity. This talk is for people who believe in a future for all our children, powered by creativity, powered by their art. And this one was from a chap called Daniel Fernandez from a company called APDZ, who's your host on the stand there today. And he asked me if he might be able to collaborate with us and share the work we're doing with STEAMco, and that's what today's all about. Because at STEAMco, the non-profit social enterprise, which I run and co-founded with parents in my children's primary school in London. STEAMco connects our kids with their art and connects our communities with our schools. Worldwide, we need to be using art, creativity, technology people to connect our children with their art, whatever their art is, whether it's cooking or coding, painting or photography, fashion or football. Every child should have a passion that they can pour their energy into, pour their aspiration into, and have a dream. It might not give them a job in that area. And a campaign we kicked off when we saw the most amazing film that Elton John made with John Lewis. That piano was a gift. It became a career using the gift of music and working hard. So what you have there is a film of highlights for a talk which I gave in Brazil. Via the internet. I didn't actually get to go to Brazil. Let's just pause that a moment. And I'm going to give you the chance to watch that film. It's World Creativity Day. This film tells the STEAMco story. If anybody's there interested out there, who's got the time, anybody who is streaming this, who's found it and has listened all the way through. We've been going for an hour or so now, I think. What time did we go on with Bill? Back, an hour and a bit. Yeah, blimey. World Creativity Day. Fantastic, as Bill Lucas there, Professor Bill Lucas, talked about this fantastic day being a day to celebrate creativity, the power of art, creativity, technology and people, to inspire our young people in their learning, to give them the skills they need to thrive and not just survive the 21st century revolution. So creativity, technology and people, to inspire our kids in their learning, to create careers and to fuel the economies. And we're going to need to do that post-lockdown, there's no doubt about that. And to connect and engage society and bring people together. And we're seeing that. I believe this coronavirus is the perfect showcase for the power of art, for the power of creativity, for the power of technology that we're using today, and the power of people like me connecting with people like you. And connecting, as you just saw there, with Daniel Fernandez from ADPZ in Brazil. And I'm now going to cut to that talk and play that speech in full. It is about an hour long actually, so if you want to sit down and watch that, but it is the STEAMco story end to end. If you'd like to collaborate with us, if you'd like to connect with us, then do please get in touch. Well, hello everybody down there at Bet Educar in Sao Paulo. I'm Nick Corsten from STEAMco, and I'm speaking to you today from the RSA, the Royal Society of the Arts, here in central London. 5 years ago, I gave a talk here talking about creativity in education, but not just talking. My presentation was entitled Walking the Talk. Show of hands for everybody who's watched a TED Talk or one of the RSA films. Go on, it's one hand, two hands. Somebody's got two hands up. Brilliant. Keep your hands up if you've seen one of my heroes, people like Ken Robinson, Seth Godin, Guy Claxton. No, not quite so many. Okay. Keep your hand up if you've done something about what you've seen. 2 or 3. A lot of talk at the RSA, a lot of people talk about talking shops and people who want to do well, but whether they actually do is something else. And what we want to do with STEAMco is walk the talk, not just talk the talk. We want to make a real difference. I'm not in that grand hall today. Actually, I'm down in the basement. I'm in the basement in a space called Rothmel's Coffee House. Back in the 1750s, a bunch of people got together and met in coffee houses across London, particularly in one called Rothmel's, and put a plan together to form an organisation, to start a movement of fellows, men and women, to make the world a better place. And it's now dedicated to the advancement of 21st century enlightenment. This talk is being delivered to you from The Steps, which is a theatre within the Rothmel's Coffee House, which is available for any fellow to use anytime at no extra cost whatsoever, subject to availability. And I'm very pleased to be able to speak to you from here today. 3 or 4 years ago at Christmas, New Year, I had a package in the post, and I didn't open it until New Year's Eve. My car broke down, and I wasn't able to escape London for New Year's Eve, and I opened it and found that it was a book that had been sent to me. A very, very special book, a book called Your Turn by somebody called Seth Godin, which was a book designed to inspire people to make a change, to make a difference, to break free of whatever was holding them back, whether it was a job or other circumstances. I found that book very, very inspiring.
It's always about one thing: connection. Chat, email, Facebook, go down the list. They are about connection. Airbnb works because it connects someone who has a house with someone who needs a house. Connection. Art is what we call it when someone does something that might connect us to someone else. We can agree that Jackson Pollock was an artist, right? He was jeered and ridiculed when he started. In some quarters he still is. But there's also no question that people gasp when they see his work, and they go out of their way to see his work, and his work touches them. But did you know that Jackson Pollock had a brother? His brother's name was Charles. Charles Pollock was a painter, not an artist. He painted just like his teacher, Thomas Hart Benton. No one's ever heard of Charles Pollock because we don't need someone to paint like someone else. But it doesn't have anything to do with paint. Marcel Duchamp nearly caused a riot in 1917 when he put an upside-down urinal into an art exhibit. He called it a ready-made. The second person to install a urinal in an art exhibit was a plumber. And that's the decision you're going to make. Are you going to be a plumber, or are you going to do something that might not work? And it happens all the time. It might not work, but here's the thing. The guy who invented the ship also invented the shipwreck. And either you're in or you're out. Either you want to play this game or you don't. Art doesn't work because we did something conventional and predictable, and here it is industrialized, right? Art works because we connected. Everyone in this room has made it this far. You are already successful. That is not in doubt. The question is simple. Are you going to matter? I hope you will. Thanks for your attention.
So, are you going to matter? This is about art. This is not a talk for people who want to sell a few robots, people who want to sell technology, people who are obsessed with ed tech for the sake of technology. This is for people who want to connect. This talk is for people who believe in art. This talk is for people who believe in creativity. This talk is for people who believe in a future for all our children, powered by creativity, powered by their art, inclusively, privately educated, state educated, public education. It's a talk for everybody. And now's a good time to get up and go and see something else if this is not the talk for you. If you like the sound of this, I can't recommend this book enough. Your Turn by Seth Godin, an absolutely fantastic book. And the fact my car broke down that night, the fact Seth Godin sent me a couple of copies of this book is why I'm here today. So I can't thank Seth Godin enough for his contribution to everything we're doing with STEAMco. Airbnb, eBay, Seth talked there about the connection economy and how we're leaving the industrial economy behind. Nowhere is that evident than in systems like LinkedIn, which are literally designed, they're literally made to connect people with each other, whether it's for business or other social entrepreneurial reasons. I'm here today and you're listening to me today because of LinkedIn. Because one day I got a message on LinkedIn and I looked at it. I get many random messages. Some I can't spend much time looking at, some I think about and engage with. And this one was from a chap called Daniel Fernandez from a company called APDZ, who's your host on the stand there today. And Daniel and I met when he came to London. We had a fantastic conversation. He told me about the work that he and his colleagues have been doing for many years there in Brazil across education. And he asked me if he might be able to collaborate with us and share the work we're doing with STEAMco. And that's what today's all about. And we hope that we'll be able to move forward together and work with schools and school communities across the space there in Brazil, if not the rest of South America. So very, very excited about that. And here's a picture of Daniel and I inking that contract, if you like, drawing an I Love Art logo on a piece of paper and shaking hands. And interestingly enough, the location for that was a place called White City Place here in central London, which was the home of the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, talking about yesterday technology, yesterday communication, yesterday broadcast, but the base at which we had a drink, where we had a coffee, we signed some documents, very simple agreements, and agreed to collaborate and work together. A few years ago, interestingly enough, I was having lunch with somebody and they whipped out a magazine, actually. They were telling me about the amazing work that was going on in Brazil with technology, with coding. Raspberry Pi had just launched, and they showed me this photograph. And I was quite tickled to see that because I hadn't seen that picture before, but I was particularly tickled because that's my son. That's my son working in a school activity we ran where we first started STEAM Go in his school here in London in a place called Paddington. And we ran a code club, one of the first code clubs in the UK, using the Raspberry Pi to teach those children to code, working with organizations like Google and the Raspberry Pi Foundation and Code Club and Nesta, a whole range of organizations that were focused on creativity, giving children the technology skills and the connection skills that they'd need. We made the front page of the national newspaper in Brazil, as you can see here. I was very pleased to see that as well. And it's been a fantastic experience working together. So really what we're doing today is within the event, the Art Connects 19 Festival, a festival of creative schools, work and lives, which is setting out to celebrate the power of creativity, technology and people, the killer combination. That's what we call art. Art is the killer combination of creativity, technology, and people. And I'll come back to that shortly. You probably won't have seen this TV commercial down there in Brazil, but I'd like to share it with you now because it's been very, very special to us here in London.
It's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. I'm not one of those who can easily hide. I don't have much money, but if I did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live. I was a sculptor, but then again, no, or a man who makes potions in a traveling shoe. I know it's not much, but it's the best I can do. My gift is my song, and this one's for you. And you can tell everybody this is your song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're in the world.
A TV advertisement there made by a creative agency called Adam and Eve for their client, John Lewis, which is one of the UK's biggest retail stores, featuring one of Britain's greatest exports, one of our greatest industries, Elton John, a singer, a musician, a member of the creative industries, which contributes £105 billion. That's about $150 billion to the UK economy. Now, we're a relatively small country, but that's a significant amount of our economy. And in fact, the creative industries is the fastest growing sector in our economy. So very, very important to us. I've been showing that film to young people, children, school communities across the country since it came out last November. And at this point, I'd love to ask the children, people in the room, what that film means to them, the one word that that film means to them. So I'm going to pause the talk now. I'm going to ask Daniel to pause this film. And amongst yourselves there in the room, I'd like you to come up with one word that that film makes you think of. I'm going to count to 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, when I run this in schools here in the UK, I get words like gift and happy and family and education, music, money. Money, that piano was a gift. It became a career using the gift of music and working hard. The word that I think of, the correct answer, if you like, the word that I love to see, I often get from children, is the word art. And for me, that film represents a very powerful thing, art for all, something that is accessible for everybody, that is not the preserve of the elite in fine galleries, and it certainly deserves there, but is something that everybody can access. And that's what this talk is all about. The talk today is about art, what it is, why it's important, and how it might connect us all. And that's why I'm very pleased to be here at the Royal Society of the Arts. This book from Seth Godin was another part of inspiration, and this will be the last Seth Godin plug today. But this book, The Icarus Deception, talks about art, it talks about artists, and how important it is for us to find our art. The book, The Icarus Deception, you probably know the story of Icarus. Icarus was told not to fly too close to the sun with his wax wings. The version of the story that many people forget is he was also told not to fly too close to the sea, because his wings would get wet, he would crash. If he flew too close to the sun, his wings would melt. It's a morality tale to tell children, to teach children not to break the rules, to stay within the boundaries. But we've got to be teaching our children to break those rules, as long as it's safe to do so. We've got to give them the confidence to disrupt things the way they are, because we're going to need some radical solutions to some of the problems the world faces. Young people in their lives are going to need to be creative, they're going to need to be problem solvers in their lives, and that's why this book is very important, because it talks about that. It talks about finding our art and how art might empower us. So art. Art is what? Well, let's do the 10-second game again. Everybody in the room, could you please come up with a word, talk to your partners, come up with one word, write it on a post-it note. Art is what? 10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ring, ring. Okay, so when I do this in schools, I get some fantastic answers. It's very, very special. I get children say that art is magical, art is imagination, art is creative, art is messy, art is special, art is lovely. And then I have to tell those children that, because it's my party, I'll cry if I want to. I tell them that I'm going to answer it with a sentence. I'm going to cheat. And I cheat by answering that question with a sentence. We say, Seth said it earlier, art is what we call it when what we do might connect us to somebody else. And as I say, that's what this presentation is all about. Because at STEAMco, the non-profit social enterprise, which I run and co-founded with parents in my children's primary school in London in a place called Paddington, STEAMco connects our kids with their art and connects our communities with our schools. And that's what this is all about. Worldwide, we need to be using art, creativity, technology people to connect our children with their art, whatever their art is, whether it's cooking or coding, painting or photography, fashion or football. Every child should have a passion that they can pour their energy into, pour their aspiration into, and have a dream. It might not give them a job in that area, and I know I don't need to talk to you guys in Brazil about how competitive the football world is, but if a child can have a passion for football, can exercise, can build collaboration skills, as well as develop other skills, then they're going to be worthwhile citizens. They're going to contribute to their community, they're going to build networks, they're going to make friends, and have a rewarding life. And that's what this is all about. 12 Days of Creative Christmas, a campaign we kicked off when we saw the most amazing film that Elton John made with John Lewis.
It's a little bit funny.
We saw that film, made our own, which had 50,000 views in just one afternoon, and that inspired us to announce in Cardiff the 12 Days of Creative Christmas Tour. We went from Cornwall all the way through to Carlisle. In Sheffield we stopped off with John Lewis, and we were delighted, and they gave us a very special present for a very special person. In Bradford we were delighted to rock up the day that Jimmy Rotherham, the music teacher at Feversham Primary, had been shortlisted. I then showed the children a film of me and my dad and my first ever train set when I was 1, and discussed how my dad showed me how to use my imagination, and how that train set was to me what that piano was to Elton.
I know it's not much, but it's the best I can do. This one's for you.
Today's been very special because I popped up for the 12th day to our friends up there at Parkins Primary and popped back into Mr Dyson's office and gave a very special present to a very special boy.
And rockets were named after the steam engine.
Now that it's done, I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down the words. How wonderful life is while you're in the world.
What is it?
The train.
So, what are we doing today then?
Building this.
Well, I must admit, I didn't think I'd be showing two Elton John films and songs in one talk, let alone the same song. That film was made after we took Elton John's original Christmas film, put subtitles on it and released it the day it came out. And it had 50,000 views within an hour after Elton John saw it and retweeted it. On the back of that, we went on a UK tour, as you saw there, travelling from one end of Britain to another, showing that film in 2 schools a day, picking up a Lego train set in a city called Sheffield and giving it to that young lad in an estate in the northern town of England called Leeds in Yorkshire. A very challenged setting. That little lad wasn't expecting a train set for Christmas, as you can see there. But what was particularly special was that he came down to London with his family to help launch the Art Connects 19 festival. He came to the Houses of Parliament with posters celebrating his art, with his mother, with his father, with his daughter, and spoke in the Houses of Parliament at the launch event of our Art Connects Festival of Creativity.
I used to be the toughest tough in town, and loaded with dosh all the time. And now I'm out of work, I'm on the streets, begging brother, can you spare a pound? I used to be a miner down the pit, digging for it every day. And now the closer shop, I'm out of work, begging brother, can you spare a quid?
What better song could we have for our campaign than Brother, Could You Spare a Pound? It's almost as if Gaz wrote it for us 20, 30 years ago. Gaz, tell us a little bit about the song, why you wrote it and some of his lyrics. I heard shipbuilder in there, we've got Sunderland shipbuilding.
Yeah, it was inspired by a Rudy Valley song in the 30s, Brother, Can You Spare a Dime, originally. And it was all about the Great Depression between the big wars. And now, when around the time this came out, I think a lot of my generation were going through tough times, and it seemed appropriate to sort of update the song, anglicize it, well, sort of make it our own, and we did an English kind of street version of it, and we still regularly play it at our shows today, so I'm more than happy for you to use this in your campaign. Couldn't go to a better cause.
That means a lot. That really does mean a lot. Because one minute we're at White City Place, which is an icon of regeneration, gentrification, whatever, and the next minute we're being embraced by the community. That means a lot, because we've got to do this together, you know. This is not class war. This is everybody working together. And as Charlie says, it's an entitlement for everybody.
An event like this is absolutely overdue, because growing up as a kid, I've been from a working class family as well. We've never had access to the arts.
So we want people to be a patron of Steamco. I'd love you to go away, go on the website, put £1 in and be a patron. Tell people, let's spread this, let's make this happen.
I used to be the toughest tough in town, and loaded with dosh all the time. And now I'm out of work, I'm on the streets, begging brother, can you spare a pound? I used to be a miner down the pit, digging for it every day. And now the closer shop, I'm out of work, begging brother, can you spare a quid? Yeah!
So what you saw there was the launch of our Art Connects 19 festival in the Houses of Parliament with that young lad and his train set. And with a chap called Gaz Mail, who has a band from West London in Notting Hill. You may have heard of the Notting Hill Carnival. And he had a song called Brother, Can You Lend a Pound? And we ran a campaign which was featured in the Guardian newspaper, and readers were invited to send us £1 to have their name included on that page. And this was also inspired by the RSA, the Royal Society of the Arts here in London, where we are today. Because when the RSA started, they had a campaign. If you gave a guinea, which was the equivalent of £1 in those days, you could have your name listed alongside all the other fellows, the lords, the ladies, the establishments, the aristocracy, as well as other ordinary people like you. And that's what we're trying to do here, to make this as inclusive as we possibly can. And it was fantastic to have that in The Guardian just a couple of weeks ago, a co-funding campaign, because we want STEAMCO to be a collaborative project. STEAMCO, the co in STEAMCO, stands for collaboration. This is the film that you saw in that Elton John advert there. This was me with my train set when I was 1 year old with my dad. That's a few years ago, as I'm sure you can imagine. And I've got a train set here which I often take into schools and show to children. They love it, particularly when I get this, this orange box out and I open it and show them a clockwork train, which I'll put on the tracks here now. When the children see that train in real life, they just can't believe it. They think, wow, this is a celebrity toy, and we'll come back to the power of celebrity in just a moment. But that film, but there was one thing special about that film, and I love to ask people what that film was about, and I'm not going to do it now, but it was really about one thing. My dad showed me in that film how to make a bridge. In that film, my dad showed me how to make a bridge, and I love to ask children what I used to make that bridge. Some say my arm, my hand, some say bricks, some say wood, some say metal. But the answer is simple. The answer is much more simple than that. The answer is that I used my imagination. My dad gave me a gift and showed me how to use my imagination to make a bridge. And the point is that that train set was to me what that piano was to Elton John. That train set inspired me to be an engineer. My career, well, I went to university, I became an electronic engineer, making things, doing things, and I credit that kind of childhood, those kind of opportunities, that inspiration for kicking off that journey. Einstein said that logic can take us from A to B, but imagination can take us anywhere. Another critical skill that we need to be teaching and inspiring in our young people. I love to show them this picture here and ask them what this might be. This is in a city called Hull in England. Hull was a fishing town in the northeast coast of England. And over here on the left is a museum. Over here is the National Museum of Whaling. Well, obviously, we don't whale anymore. Whales are a threatened species, so we don't catch whales here in the UK and Europe anymore. And over here is the Ferrens Art Gallery. So I love to ask the children what this might represent, given that that's a whaling museum and that's an art gallery. Because for me, and I'm sure the intention was, that it's a piece of art that looks like a whalebone, that represents the past, and because it's artistic, it represents creativity and culture, because for that year, Hull was the culture city of Britain. But it's more than that. I love to give the children a clue. I flash this picture up, and suddenly they all realize what it is, that is in fact a turbine blade from a wind turbine. Because Hull is now the UK's centre of the wind turbine industry. Siemens have invested £750 million in building a factory to build wind turbines, sustainable energy, clean energy. And I love to tell the children that every once in a while, a man or a woman has to get in this boat and go up in the little door here and climb up the ladder and walk along these turbine blades, inspecting them for cracks. They have to walk all the way along that blade. And I love to ask the children who'd want that job, and the hands go up, and I say, no, you don't want a dangerous job like that. You don't want dirty, dangerous jobs like that. Those are the jobs that we don't mind the robots doing. And on the screen here is a robot that I saw at Imperial College here in London at one of their community festival days. A robot designed to crawl along that blade, inspecting it for cracks. And that's the sort of job that the robots should be doing. What we've got to do is educate our children to do the jobs the robots can't do. Because robots can't use their imagination. Robots don't get art. Robots aren't creative. Well, not yet. And that's why creativity in the arts is so important in education. So what's my story? What's this all about? Well, you saw me on the video there with my father, and that's one of the most played out little pieces of film, certainly in our family. And basically, this all came about after I saw this TED Talk, which I'm sure you've all seen, by Sir Ken Robinson, the most watched TED Talk, over 300 million views, I'm told, on various platforms in various audiences, on how schools can teach creativity out of children. He talks there about how creativity is now as important as literacy. And to many people, that's a very contentious statement, because people say, how dare you? How dare you say that creativity is as important as literacy? Because what they're assuming is that you're taking literacy down to the level that they have creativity placed at. But in fact, I believe that Sir Ken, as any educator, as any parent, as any responsible member of society, would keep literacy up here, but bring creativity to that level, if not a little bit higher. And if you speak to somebody who works with children with special needs, they'll tell you that creativity is more important than literacy, because some children are never going to be able to learn to read. So Sir Ken Robinson, I saw that TED Talk and that inspired me, and I found that fantastic with two young boys, aged 4 and 6 at the time. The second thing that was very special for me was seeing and reading this book, a book called What's the Point of School, which I think is one of the most important questions we all need to ask ourselves, by Professor Guy Claxton at the University of Winchester here in England. What's the point of school? Well, once upon a time, our schools were designed to teach people, to teach children to sit still in factories and offices. As we rolled out the Industrial Revolution, as we rolled out the British Empire in our case, but those jobs are no longer required in the volume that they were, because robots, artificial intelligence, offshoring of jobs are replacing a lot of those jobs. And that's why creativity is now so important, why we need to reimagine and evolve our education systems globally, not just to educate people to work, but to educate them to be functioning and contributing members of society everywhere in the world. The second thing that I did was go to a festival curated by these two wonderful people, Rob and Josie DeBank, with a fantastic robot behind them there. They run a festival here in England called Camp Bestival. And I went to that festival with my family 8 years ago and was really quite blown away by the creativity on show in that event. This tent, as you can see, is all about the science of music, and it does what it says on the tin. There are activities and machines and gadgets for making music. Camp Bestival is a very, very special place to us. We've been there many times since. And we went that year and thought, how do we bring this creative experience back into our own school? And that's exactly what we did. Now, the Guardian newspaper wrote an article about what we've been up to and said how that I saw creativity in the field and how inspiring that was. The headline in that article in the paper said, "I just talk quickly till people say yes." Because a very special lady, the head teacher in my son's school, Miss Woodford, she said yes, and she let us use the school for the day. We ran things called STEAMCO Days, creativity festivals in our school in Paddington. We brought many activities together. Parents and children made banners and bunting that they wrapped around the school. We made rockets, and we fired paper rockets, which we'll talk about more later. We did spin painting. We had ukulele lessons. We had junk modeling workshops, painting activities, zoetrope animation workshops, improv workshops. Dads came in and used a machine to roll newspapers up, which they could build bridges and chairs from. We did coding using Raspberry Pis and now microbit computers. Science activities, built an electric car, which we raced on the Goodwood racetrack. We had fantastic publicity. We've been on BBC Breakfast, and as you saw, we've been in Brazilian newspapers and publicity all over the world. We were even shortlisted for an award with the Times Education Supplement for community collaboration very, very early on. And we packed everything up that we use on those days, everything you need to run a creativity festival in a school, in this trailer, and we now take it all over the country running STEAMCO Days. And 3 years ago, I gave my career up to roll STEAMCO out across the country as a non-profit social enterprise. For us, STEAMco is all about putting creativity first. The power of creativity, technology and people to inspire children in their learning, to create careers and power the economy, as you heard, which we're doing here in the UK with our creative industries, and connecting, engaging society. It's all about getting people to collaborate for creativity. We launched a campaign recently to call for creative people and companies to collaborate for creativity, to work with us to raise funds and to work with school communities to run these days, and the response to that has been fantastic. STEAMco is in the business of campaigning for creativity, inspiring creativity and actioning creativity, as you saw with the trucks there. In terms of inspiration, we run events. All this event was in Liverpool, which you may know is the home and the birthplace of the Beatles back in the 60s. A very famous city, a very creative city, and also the home to Sir Ken Robinson, who we saw spoke earlier. We ran an event 4 or 5 years ago, and just before that event, Sir Ken published one of his books, Creative Schools, which I commend to you. But at that same time, it was reviewed in the newspaper, the school's newspaper, the Times Education Supplement, by somebody who said that Sir Ken Robinson is a butcher given a ticker tape parade by the National Union of Pigs, which I thought lacked a certain amount of respect for somebody who was a sir. They'd therefore been knighted by the Queen. And it made me realize some of the pressure, some of the anger, some of the dislike to a lot of what we believe in when it comes to art and creativity and culture in schools, and realizing that there is essentially a very binary choice amongst many, many educators, and something we'd have to pay very careful attention to. Other educators have said that Sir Ken Robinson should not be trusted in schools. He has Panglossian and dreamy ideas, and reinforcing these concerns. So our first event was in Liverpool. Our second event we ran in Sunderland, here with a young designer called Dominic Wilcox. And our third event was with Barclays Bank in the City of London.
Creativity to some of the most deprived children in the country. And what we're asking for is the opportunity for a STEAMco Day at our school. This has been a most amazing day, absolutely amazing. Our Year 4 and Year 5 children are having an incredible time with a whole range of activity, coding, artwork, designing, a really amazing day. A year ago I was at Barclays Tower and we talked about this day, and now we're having it. And for children in an area like this, it is an absolute treat. The whole STEAMco, the whole STEAM experience is something that I'm really hoping we can make as an annual event now that we've got the ball rolling. And I just want to thank the STEAMco team for giving their time and commitment to coming to Edmonton to support our children.
I'm doing some spin painting.
Centrifugal force does it.
What has carried me is creativity. Creativity is not the monopoly of artists. You can be a businessman and a poet, you can be a lawyer and a poet, you can be a doctor and a poet. It's true.
I'm absolutely pleased that your favorite story, the Digital Company, has provided a team of experts to support our children, and they have been amazing. They have allowed our children to have an opportunity that they wouldn't normally have, and now our children have real ideas about what is possible out there in that field.
When greatness walks into the room, greatness does not have to announce itself.
I've had a really fun day teaching children to microbit code. I didn't really sort of have many skills on that myself until today, but I've learned, and so have the children. It's been great.
Bonkers or useful invention ideas. You might be wondering what I'm wearing on my head. Well, this is a reverse listening device that I made from tubes and kitchen funnels. Okay, I've shown you some of my invention ideas, but I want to challenge you to come up with your own invention ideas.
The very essence of greatness is caught by young people. That's why they're addicted to artists, they're addicted to footballers, because they don't question their creativity, they just allow it to flow.
As I was sourcing opportunities last year at Barclays, Bill Watkins was there and he spoke passionately about creativity in the secondary sector. And I just want to thank Anne Palmer, head of Nightingale Academy, for allowing us to have 15 of her sixth formers here today.
We're from Nightingale Academy and we're here at Raynham today to help with the STEAM coding.
Helping with the coding and I really enjoy it, and the students know what to do now.
I really love the screen painting today. For example, we have some samples out here.
I just made a rocket and I can't wait to fly it.
One of the greatest drivers for our achievement here in this community is our parents and their involvement in their children to give their children better life chances. And today we've had parents and members of the community coming in to help us. A year ago when I spoke at the Barclay Tower, I said creativity is a luxury because of the focus on the basic skills that we have to consider in our community. But what I also said is that as a community, we may be broke, but we're not broken. And that is showing here today. It has been a day to remember. And I would recommend this to anyone, any head teacher, any school in the country. Just go for it. You won't regret it. It'll be a day to remember. And it will, yeah, sorry, and it will, yeah.
Can you please do another STEAM code?
Marva Rollins there, OBE, she's been celebrated by the Queen here and given an award for her fantastic work there. And one of the most challenged, literally one of the poorest school communities here in England, in central London. And the key things to take away from that film were the spirit of collaboration. How an advertising agency, a digital advertising agency called Your Favourite Story, paid for that school community to have a STEAMco day. They paid for us to go up there with our STEAMco drop truck to provide the resources. They sent some of their staff along and worked with those children, worked with their families, and worked with local business people as well and local school children from senior school. Fantastic demonstration of the spirit of collaboration. On another event in King's Cross in London, an advertising agency called Havas collaborated and funded a day and sent some staff along to run an activity. And what you see here is a digital billboard that was designed by one of the children on that day, and that was the prize for the most creative piece of work. So, STEAMco, that's what we are, that's who we are. STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art and maths is the STEAM acronym, but we're not about acronyms. We don't care for STEM, we don't care for STEAM, we don't care for these battles. We're all about creativity. And the power of these skills, the STEAM skills, to create employment opportunities for these young people, such as civil engineering, designing and building buildings. This lady here is a camera woman making nature documentaries. I'm sure you'll be able to convince a child that that camera is more complicated than using a smartphone to take a selfie. We've got this guy here who is a coder who develops computer games, and suddenly when you talk to children about the skills, the creativity required to develop computer games, then they're very interested. Up here we have an engineer for National Grid here in the UK who is involved in a high energy, high power, high voltage energy transmission. This lady here, a scientist coming up with new medicines and ways of growing crops. And down here, a photograph from a place near where I live in London called NDE, Nissan Design Europe. That's where Nissan design a large number of their vehicles. The Nissan Qashqai car was designed there in that building by the canal near where I live. And this man makes cars out of clay and shapes and sculpts them, and then scans the data into a computer, and they're built by robots in the north of England in a place called Sunderland. And these are what we call the STEAM skills. And these are the skills that our young people really do need to be embracing to create opportunities for themselves and to power their economies. A national newspaper in the UK did a survey a few years ago asking young people what they wanted to be when they grow up, and 4 out of 10 of them simply said rich. But not everybody can win talent shows on TV like the X Factor or play for their favourite football team. So we need to help these young people and tap into creative ambassadors, and we call these people inspirators. And these people are real role models for our children. We have some people here on the screen. James Dyson, the engineer and designer, the first British person in space, the first Briton in space, Dr. Helen Sharman. Lem Cisse there, the most amazing and inspiring creative poet and the Chancellor of Manchester University. Dr. Sue Black, who is a coder, who's done amazing work for saving Bletchley Park and inspiring young people, particularly young girls, to get into technology. Martin Ware, who was an electronic music pioneer with bands The Human League and Heaven 17. Heston Blumenthal, the chef, who's an incredibly successful chef. And this man here, Paul Smith, who's a fashion designer, one of the most successful fashion designers in the UK. This man here, Tom Morley, is a famous musician, a famous drummer from the 80s, a band Scritti Politti, and he's now one of the world's most in-demand keynote speakers and facilitators for companies all over the world. And he gives us time. He comes in and works with us and runs drumming sessions for children and is developing an activity pack that can be delivered in schools by school communities. And there I am on stage with Tom at a TED conference here in the UK, a TEDx education conference in England. It's not all about people, famous people. I find this quite fascinating. We displayed this screen on a workshop we ran for some young children for Tomorrow Engineers Year with the Institute of Engineering Technologists. And at the moment I got that real car out to show the children, they were in awe because they'd seen the car on the screen, they saw it in real life, and they thought this car was famous. And that's the spirit of celebrity in this digital media world that we've got to tap into. And that's what the Inspirator program is all about, whether it's a car, whether it's a famous train, or whether it's a famous person. And there are lots of ways that we can inspire our young people. We run many activities with our children, encouraging them to be curious, encouraging them to use their imagination and problem solve in scenarios like this. This young man here, Dominic Wilcox, is a young designer inventor. He's been famous all over the world. He was on the Stephen Colbert show in America with a gadget he designed to help you eat your breakfast for Kellogg's cereals. When he was a child, he went to the cathedral in Durham in the north of England and saw the beautiful stained glass. And when he went to university, when he went to the Royal College of Art to study industrial design, Mini cars, BMW Mini, asked him to design a car of the future. And his idea was inspired by that stained glass, the stained glass driverless sleeper car. That's been all over the world. And in fact, that car features in an advertising campaign which we designed at Steamco for the British government under the Creativity is Great Britain campaign to promote creativity to the world. And that's what we're here today. We're here to tell you in Brazil and other countries all over the world watching this that Britain is powered by creativity, and we want to collaborate and work with you and your education systems and your countries and your communities and your schools to spread the power of creativity, technology and people, not just for jobs, but to make the world a much, much better place and to solve a lot of the problems. Here are some of the crazy ideas that Dominic Wilcox has developed: the coffee cup cooling machine, the balloon that pops without making any big jump. And here is Dominic Wilcox working with us in a school in Liverpool. His first work with schools was working with Steamco at the top of the British Telecom Tower in London and here in Liverpool. And we've worked with Dominic to develop an activity pack and use some of his resources from the Little Inventors scheme that he runs. And here's one of his activities being delivered in a school by parents. And at the end of that day, on a Steamco day, a mother came up to me and said, "I can't thank you enough because I didn't know my daughter had this creativity interest. I didn't know she had it in her." And it was this activity that unlocked that creativity and encouraged that child to use her creativity to design and to invent. And I was told that that girl designed and invented and made drawings every day for several months after that day, even though Dominic Wilcox was nowhere near. And that's what we want to do with Steamco. We want to develop more of these activity packs, connect with more inspirators in the UK and abroad, there in Brazil and other countries, to inspire all our young people to apply themselves to their education and develop their creativity. It's not just famous people. This is an image from Tate Modern, an art gallery here in London, where they had a Matisse cutouts exhibition. And that exhibition inspired this simple activity where mothers and children worked together to develop their own Matisse cutouts and display them on a board. And we're very keen to work with more art institutions here in the UK, with more museums, to develop activity packs that can be delivered by school communities on STEAMco days. Now, you remember at the start of this talk, my father and my train set. Well, my dad's 83 now, and he volunteers in a charity bookshop where second-hand books are resold for a charity called Oxfam. And one day he found this book in a box of books, and he said to me, "Nick, this is the best book I've ever read in my life. Rocket Boys by Homer Hickam." It tells the story of 4 boys growing up in a dead-end coal mining town in West Virginia in America in the 1950s. They didn't want to be coal miners. They had dreams, they had visions. They wanted to escape and make the world a better place. They had no idea what to do. And this is a true story. My dad said, "This is the best book I've ever read," and I read it. And I connected with the author, and I found that that book is also a movie called October Sky. And as I say, this is a story set in West Virginia in America, and here we are in England, about 4 boys who didn't want to be coal miners. They looked up in the sky, and they saw a satellite going through the sky, the Sputnik, the world's first satellite. And they had an idea. They decided to learn to make rockets, and with the encouragement of their mother, with the encouragement of their father, and most importantly, a teacher, those boys learned to make rockets. And this is a picture from the Universal Studios movie. And at the end of that year, those boys had made a rocket that went 6 miles high in the sky. And we're delighted that Homer Hickam has given us the permission to take that story into British schools, and we travel around the country doing half-day sessions where we tell the story in an all-school assembly. We then make rockets with a class of children and then fire a real rocket off. It's an inspiring story. It's not just about men, it's not just about boys. As I say, the first British person in space was Dr. Helen Sharman. And as you probably know, there's a story, amazing story of 3 African-American women in the film Hidden Figures, which tells the story about how they did the maths that got the American space program onto the moon. And on STEAMco days, we make paper rockets. We fire rockets like this and with dynamite and parachutes, and absolutely fantastic. A fantastic way of engaging school communities.
This morning's session was very, very useful. Really, really good, because it got children excited, and if they're excited, they can then learn from understanding the principles behind how things work.
It was really constructive and fun, and we really enjoyed shooting rockets into the sky.
So it goes really high, and it's quite heavy on the nose, weirdly, and it landed in the tree, basically.
Yeah, we're passionate about developing the right sort of mindset, and this is really great for the children. They've just had a fabulous time, really engaging in the subject, really engaging in the science. It's been wonderful. Who's up next then?
3, 2, 1.
That's Paul bringing science to life here at Norwich Science Festival. Listen to those children.
This is the best day of my life. Supernova class, can we say our special saying, please? Reach for the stars!
So just one example of the events that we run on half-day sessions, full STEAMco days, going into schools, taking rockets, taking robots, using the BBC microbit here. So this is a simple little cardboard robot from Technology Will Save Us, and it's just programmed to buzz around randomly at the moment. But you can use 2 BBC microbits to remote control them. Slightly more complicated robots, but still very old. This is very old technology. This is the Lego Mindstorms kit, which I'm sure you'll recognise there at the Bet Show. And a simple robot made with Lego that can solve a Rubik's Cube. And we put that in there, and it starts analysing it. This is not rocket science, that's rocket science. This is very simple robot technology. But using Lego, using simple coding methodologies and appliance of the creativity, the knowledge, to encourage our young people to use their creativity and their technology skills. Another very inspiring person which we use in our talks and tell the children about is this little lad here who grew up in South Africa in the 60s. There was no internet. He just read and read and read and learnt to code and went to America and dreamt of going to Mars. He developed his coding skills and helped develop PayPal, and as you probably know, became a very successful person when he sold those shares, $400 million. And he's invested that money in a space program, rockets that can go to space and come back and be used again. And I'm sure you've seen his films. This is one of the SpaceX rockets landing to be refilled and used again. SpaceX. He is concerned about the environment and solar panel company Solar City, and that's one of his companies. And cars is another area as well.
Why are we making electric cars? This is really important for the future of the world.
This film
you can see the chart
of the launch of the latest electric car in their series was a fantastically inspiring talk.
It showed the world they could make a great electric car. So we thought, okay, we're going to make the Model S. It was rated by Consumer Reports as the best car ever. A mass market, affordable car. So do you want to see the car?
So we show that to the children and they get very excited about seeing this car, and we ask them to think about what that car might look like, and then we show them what electric cars used to look like and what electric cars still do look like, and suddenly a little bit of an anticlimax. Because there are challenges to electric cars. They didn't have much of a range, they didn't have much speed, they weren't very cool to look at. So this guy who'd never made a car before made his first car, which was super cool and very expensive. The Tesla Roadster. He then made a second car, which is a little less expensive in slightly higher numbers, and that was the Model S. And the launch you saw there was the Model 3. And that's a very, very inspiring story that we tell these children. We talk about the Hyperloop system that Elon Musk has developed and is now developing with Virgin Hyperloop and Hyperloop. And we demonstrate and tell the children about the Hyperloop system, showing them videos of it working. But more to the point, we've actually built our own Hyperloop, and we take that to schools, a piece of drain pipe about 15 meters long, and we fire a dynamite-powered car down that pipe in the school and inspire them with people like Mamta Singha here, who's a young engineer, to encourage them to become engineers. One of the activities we run. And obviously that young boy there is Elon. And we tell these young people that in an apprenticeship, that people buy people. Well, they used to buy people, but now people buy interested and interesting people. And what we need to be doing is inspiring our young people to be interested in the companies and the jobs that they go for, but more importantly, to be interesting, to develop stories, to find out about these things, to be curious, to learn and understand the stories of Elon Musk and Ada Lovelace, the woman who invented the concept of computing, and Helen Sharman, who went to space, and Homer Hickam, who made rockets and ended up working for NASA. And these are the people we need to inspire.